Thanks for joining us.
All right, so moving on, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Hutt from the Department of Disabilities, Aging, and Independent Living to really officially open our day. Commissioner Hutt?
Good morning. Are you hearing me?
We are. And just a quick reminder for everyone but Commissioner Hutt, if you could please mute yourself, that would be great.
Great. Well, thank you, Tara, and thank you to Martha. It is such a pleasure to be with you today and to join Tara and Martha in welcoming you to day 2 of this interagency core team event. Tara said at the very beginning, it's so exciting to see the number of participants increasing and increasing. So what a great opportunity to reach everybody. So let's talk a little bit about transitions. I think it's not surprising or new information to anybody to hear that transitions can be really challenging. I feel like we've been in kind of constant transition for several months, but transitions in the life of a student and a family are a point in time where they are really rooted in the past, in the present, and in the future, really all at the same time. For students and their families, the transition from a known environment into the unknown, no matter how positive or exciting that may be, creates a certain amount of anxiety and distress. For students with disabilities, that transition can be positively overwhelming. Just imagine, and again, this is what you know and live and breathe all the time, but just imagine for a minute, you know, leaving the comfort of a known environment bound by the rules and supports of a 504 or an IEP plan. An environment that's populated by people who have come to know that student really well, people who are essentially obligated to support them, who are driven to search out those individual challenges and those solutions to those challenges, people who are vested in seeing them succeed. Students leave that world for a world that may or may not understand them, where the rules all change and no one really knows them. There isn't a shared history. In that new world, success may or may not be on everyone's agenda for that student or that family. As the parent of a child who graduated last year on an IEP, I can assure you it's terrifying. And as a professional in this field and someone who's worked with students for a very long time, I can assure you, as you all know, that transition is this critical point in time for all of our students. The collaborations of professionals with families in that transition is crucial. Your role as interagency team members is crucial to those transitions. Merging the past, the present, and the future, and a focus on all of those areas is really what makes a successful transition. When I think about that, I think about the fact that school staff in that transitional role bring history, right? All the relationships that have grounded students, the science that they've explored behind the learning strategies and ways to achieve success, the mechanisms that have been identified to overcome challenges for that student. All that history becomes part of a transition. Professionals from our designated agencies, our advocacy organizations, they provide that ongoing support, keeping teams really focused in the present, looking at the steps in the process, looking at each new decision, the planning, and they really can reassure families that there is a net to catch each student no matter what happens. And I really believe that when we think about vocational rehabilitation and the professionals that come to the interagency teams from Voc Rehab, that they introduce the element of the future. Voc Rehab focuses on career or post-secondary education and training. They encourage students and families towards those next steps, everything from money management and budgeting to college applications and all the things that are in between. I know that defining an interagency team isn't really that easy and that those quick analogies don't really capture all of it. But the beauty of a good functional interagency team is that each member can offer all 3 of those elements. And I know that each of you do. School staff vision the future, VR counselors embed themselves in a student's history, but like any good combination, any good team, every single member needs to bring their particular element to the table to create a successful transition. And that's really the power of these core interagency transition teams. You know, working as a professional at the Howard Center 16 years ago, I had the privilege and the opportunity to sit on some of the very first core transition teams. It was new at that point in time. I feel like I'm dating myself, but it really was new at that point in time to bring schools and agencies and voc rehab together to think and plan for students as they were making steps towards graduation and moving into the world. It was exciting, you know, it almost seemed like we finally had all of the puzzle pieces on the table in front of us and we could put them together in a way that made sense. Core teams have matured so much from that very beginning point, and so has vocational rehabilitation and our understanding and focus on students. In voc rehab, the core transition counselors are actually embedded in schools across the state, which you all know, working with students and families to chart a path forward early in those transition plans. And those paths are as unique as each student is unique. A focus on work experience as part of school curriculum, which is going to be your focus for the rest of the day today. But as part of school curriculum, not just alongside it, considering not just jobs, but career paths, accessing training and post-secondary opportunities and building life skills, job skills, and independence. Those are all parts of the maturation of interagency teams, the maturation of voc rehab and our core teams in general, and really part of a critical process for transition. With the changes in federal law that have come about through WIOA, voc rehab is able to be even more fluid and dynamic in supporting students, and they can offer an opportunity for core teams to develop beyond the boundaries that have defined them to date. You know, last week I had the opportunity to participate in the Vermont Developmental Disabilities Council Leadership Series graduation. That graduation ceremony graduated 22 new self-advocates and family members to join 150 across the state that have gone through this leadership series, which offers self-advocates and family members the opportunity to develop and hone leadership skills so that they can influence policy development in their local communities and at a statewide level for individuals with disabilities. One of the graduating groups, one of their capstone projects, was focused on the need to really include people with disabilities in community. And the cornerstone of that project was the necessity of work as the mechanism for that inclusion. That team identified 6 reasons for valuing work as highly as they did. And those reasons resonated with me, and I think that they will resonate with you as well. So I wanted to share them because I think it's a great frame for the rest of today. The 6 reasons for work as part of community inclusion or as a mechanism for community inclusion included meeting people, making friends, helping others, needing money since you never know when you're going to need it. They identified work as being the essence of life. And finally, they identified what was most important to them was being a part of the American dream and giving people an equal chance of success through employment. You know, we know that a successful transition is measured by inclusion and connection to community and a life that is visible and valued and celebrated. Ultimately, you know, one of the ways that we become visible to our communities is through work. It gives us the opportunity to be valued, offers us the chance to celebrate with one another and to really be celebrated. Your teaming, your building of successful transitions every day offers that to the students you work with. I'll close by encouraging you to think beyond the boundaries of what you know about core transition teams, especially as you explore work-based learning. What are some new flexibilities or new opportunities that we can offer to students and their families? What have we learned that we can put to use to create success in that shift from the known to the unknown? How do we listen and learn from students themselves in charting their course forward? I really believe that the answers to all those questions are within your fingertips as you meet and talk with one another today. I think that the collaboration that this group represents offers all that we need in this state to ensure that we're successfully transitioning students from school and into their futures. I hope that you do a lot of learning and thinking and talking today and enjoy the presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Hutt. Really appreciate your time and joining us today. So from that, we're going to shift to WINTAC. Now, just to say a little bit about WINTAC. WINTAC is a technical assistance partner that Voc Rehab works with often. Many of you from the schools and our partners may have seen Voc Rehab had put together a lot of resources when COVID hit and we were all trying to figure out how to do this virtually. We really looked to WINTAC and NTAC to come together and provide so many great resources. So we can thank them for a lot of the great resources that we learned. And we thought it would be a great opportunity to bring our national partner to come and talk to you a little bit today. They've got a great perspective on how things look kind of across the nation. They've got, really great finger on that pulse. And so we're really excited about having them here today. And we encourage you, you're gonna have the opportunity to ask questions. Please do so because they're wealth of information. So I'd like to introduce both Brenda Simmons and Christine Johnson from Wintec.
Thanks, Tara. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for Tara for inviting us to participate in your virtual event today. I don't know if you can see, but we're wearing your core team interagency shirts. We're really excited about that. And Monica, what a great message to lay a really good foundation. So we'll try to carry that forward. I think I'm going to steal one of your quotes. I was writing down, VR introduces the elements of the future. I love that. Christine, we're going to have to use that again. But we're really honored to be able to start your day off with that continued discussion on virtual work-based learning. And as Tara just mentioned, and some of you may know us, you've heard us on some webinars before, but Christine and I are both senior research associates at the George Washington University, and we've been a part of that pre-employment transition services team through the WINTAC technical assistance grant for quite a while. And we're really happy to inform you that we are going to be able to continue to provide pre-employment transition technical assistance through a new collaborative TA center. Our WINTAC grant officially ended, I think, the end of September, but we're going to be able to continue to provide that technical assistance. And I think you all are familiar with Interagency. So we are going to be collaborating with them and other amazing partners like the University of Maryland, which I think you know Kelly Crane through there. So we're excited to be able to continue that work. And still working out some of the details for that new technical assistance center, but we wanted you to know that as Vermont continues to move forward with new activities and services around work-based learning and other pre-EX activities, we'll still be here, Tara, for continued TA and resources. I also wanted to mention that we just posted a 5-part webinar series regarding the 5 required pre-employment transition services. And each of the 5 webinars, including one that's totally devoted to work-based learning experiences, includes lots of different curricula and activities, state spotlights, examples of expected outcomes and ways to identify student progress, tips for successful service delivery, and additional supports and resources that can be used to provide these services for students with disabilities. I also wanted to give a special little shout out to Vermont VR, who's included as part of a state spotlight section in the post-secondary ed webinar for some of the specific post-secondary exploration activities that you all are doing around the concept of progressive education. And I think one of your workshops is on that even today. So woohoo, Vermont. You can locate these webinars on the WINTAC website at www.wintec.org. Just go to the pre-EX training page and you can get all of that information on those new workshop series as well. So with that, Christine and I developed a PowerPoint presentation for today that includes some resources and ideas for providing work-based learning experiences virtually in this changing landscape that we know we're seeing for our students. So we encourage you to take a look at that information. But this morning, Christine and I are just going to review a couple of the slides in that PowerPoint deck to kind of help frame our discussion moving forward. But the majority of our time today, we wanted to spend taking questions and participating in a little bit more of an interactive discussion with you all on virtual work-based learning experiences. So please, I encourage you again to put your questions in the chat box, and we will try to answer as many of those as we can. Whatever we can't answer, we'll try to look for the information and share that with you, Tara, later so you can share it with everyone. So Christine, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Brenda. Well, we know that work-based learning experiences as one of the 5 required activities for pre-employment transition services, or as we call them, PREETs, outlined in the Rehabilitation Act, have to be made available in collaboration with local education agencies to all students with disabilities who need them and want them, and that are eligible or potentially eligible for VR services. So in this context, work-based learning experiences can include in-school or after-school opportunities. It's experience outside a traditional school setting, to include even internships. So we also want to make sure that they are provided in an integrated environment in the community to the maximum extent possible. Now, as Brenda said, we've been with the Wintec Technical Assistance Center for the last 5 years. And as we continue forward in our collaboration now, a partnership with Interagency, we've learned some things for the last 5 years. So one is that work-based learning experiences are really more effective when they are developed and coordinated with one of the other 4 required pre-employment transition services. So they don't just occur as a thought, oh, let's give Johnny this summer work experience for 2 weeks in the summer, but it's something that's done in a coordinated manner. Meaningful work experiences are typically developed around a career continuum, and they provide opportunities for these students to, let's say, stack or layer their skills, their learning, okay? We know that successful collaboration also promotes business partnerships. So when you've got the employers understanding how providing that work opportunity for a student with a disability really helps meet their current workforce needs, helps them look at what their future workforce needs might be, and it improves their community engagement. So it's a win-win for businesses also. Cross-agency collaboration is most effective when it's outcome-driven. So when we are putting that student first, and we're looking at having them have better high school completion, graduation rates, and employment rates after high school, we know that they will be able to be on a path to earn industry recognized credentials and have better post-secondary outcomes. So it's a win-win. Again, VR will be able to meet their common performance measures. When our students have rich experiences, we know that the schools will be able to meet those transition indicators, 1, 2, 13, and 14, and vice versa. So again, it's with that student in mind. And we also know that work-based learning experiences are one of the most strongest predictors of adult employment success for these students with disabilities. So making sure that we've given them these opportunities early and often, and that they include opportunities for a paid work experience in a competitive integrated setting. Now we know that given the COVID-19 environment, this has been a challenge, quite frankly, for all of us here in the United States and everywhere else. But Brenda's going to mention a few opportunities right now that looks at how can we provide work-based learning experiences in a virtual setting. So I'll just quickly go to that slide. And there you go, Brenda.
All righty, thanks, Christine. So just a few of the virtual work-based learning experiences that many of the state VR agencies are offering right now as part of pre-employment transition services includes things like career mentorship, which is an opportunity for a student to engage with a mentor online who teaches or provides career-related guidance and advice, as well as your online informational interviews and career tours, your online job shadowing, and virtual workplace tours. We shared a few of the resources and tools around each of those things in your PowerPoint that explores those opportunities in a little bit more detail, as well as that one of the webinars that I mentioned earlier on work-based learning goes into tons of examples of curricula and tools around resources that you can just pull up and use for each of these online opportunities for your students. So we encourage you to kind of check those out in more detail. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to mention the COVID-19 FAQ that was recently issued by OSERS just on October 16th here of this year, because it provides additional guidance regarding virtual service delivery specifically for work-based learning experiences. RSA specifically addressed work-based learning experiences in FAQ number 3 and FAQ number 4 in that document. So you may want to check that out. We also have that posted on our WINTAC website under the section titled What's New on our homepage. A couple of the key pieces of guidance in that document include the fact that students with disabilities may engage in work-based learning experiences under the VR program, either as a pre-employment transition service or in accordance with an approved IPE as a training service or transition service. Okay, so either one of those two things they may do. Also, they mentioned that online activities can be paid or unpaid work-based learning experiences to the extent that the internet business or business can engage in remote service delivery or telework. They offer work-based learning experiences in that regard, and that as long as that can be documented and reported and meets the needs, career exploration interests, and informed choices of students with disabilities, you can do that. So you can do paid work-based learning experiences online if that's the only opportunity that you have as well. Just have to be some caveats with that. So that may be good discussion moving forward as well. And then finally, they indicated that section 113B or 34 CFR 361.48A2 does not require that work-based learning experiences or any other pre-employment transition service for students with disabilities be provided in person. So VR agencies should make every effort to provide or arrange for work-based learning experiences available in the current economy that enable students with disabilities to explore their potential career goals, leading to competitive integrated employment. And that means that virtual work-based learning experiences definitely are permissible, regardless of the pandemic, to the extent that businesses offer such opportunities for students with disabilities. So as we talked about this earlier, the landscape has really changed, and encouraging, and I think Monica mentioned this, encouraging you all to be flexible and creative in your conversations moving forward about offering work-based learning experiences, and in particular, virtual work-based learning experiences. So we think that Vermont is definitely on track in this area. And I think now, Christine, it's just going to be a really good time for us to open everything up for questions and any discussion. Encourage you to put that back in the chat box, and we're gonna see what we've got here.
That's right. We're ready to be stumped.
Oh no! Well, don't say that, don't
That might help. So far, someone's asked how can they get the slides, and that is available. Martha's put that in the chat box through the Vermont Family Network site.
Yes, and if you have any questions, I don't know, Christine, if I gave the website address, but for all of those resources that I mentioned, it's www.wintec.org. So I know you guys are going to be doing some really cool workshops coming up today. in regard to apprenticeships, the earn and learn opportunities there, and the labor market information. That's so important to be able to really explore with the students what those interests are within the current labor market, and especially the labor market within their community. So those are great opportunities.
So we do have one here. Oh, we have a couple. My goodness, now they're coming in fast and furious. So I may not read as fast as everyone here. Okay, a great deal of data, not enough yet, point to the absolute importance of a paid job. That's exactly right. As a predictor, yes, the research has shown this. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Dr. Rich Luking, who has been with Transcend Incorporated for many years. He's now consulting with the University of Maryland, but Dr. Luking had really done a lot of research and showing that students who have a paid work experience, at least one and hopefully a couple, really gain confidence in themselves. They are better prepared to achieve employment once they graduate from high school. And we've just seen this, especially, I just want to say, when it's in an area of the student's interest is even more important. They're going to be more engaged and get more out of it than if you just set up a random work-based learning experience because that's all there is in this area. Something that's engaging to them. Someone else has asked, what are the 5 components of community and work experience?
And I'd like to let you know, Christine, we're at 5 minutes. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Martha. Another question, online resources that focus on work-based learning and work readiness. And again, our Wintec website, the pre-employment transition services portion, has just tons of resources. We have some in these PowerPoints, I believe, Brenda?
Yes, we have some really good resources that Tara and Richard took a look at, and they were like, yeah, these are really good. A couple of other ones that I wanted to mention to you all include T-Folio, which is also a free resource. And we can give you, the website address for each of those, but they have got informational interviews, they've got job shadowing, they have kind of an introduction on work-based learning experiences, and they've got really cool questions that they can engage students on. And what we like about that particular resource, and most of the resources that we will share with you all on our website, are the fact that they have lesson plans that will allow you to begin to track the student's progress. And that's another really key piece here. When you're developing work-based learning experiences, it's really important to have curricula that VR approves of. Make sure the curricula aligns with work-based learning experiences, as well as, Christine mentioned this, you usually don't do work-based learning experiences in a vacuum. You usually do that in association with workplace readiness skills. So make sure that all that curricula aligns with the 5 required pre-EX activities. And then also make sure that you're able to track and identify the student's progress and participation in those activities. Really an important piece, because that's also going to help you know, how do you know when the student's done? Some students may need multiple work-based learning experiences. Other students might be able to get what they really need if it's based on, as Christine mentioned, their career interests from this one really great work-based learning experience, and then be able to move forward. But the bottom line, and to kind of reinforce what Monica was saying too, it's so important. How many times those of you all in VR have had students that graduated not just from high school, but graduated from college without any work-based learning experiences at all? They'd never worked, and here they're graduating with maybe even a college degree. So one of the key pieces of the intent of adding work-based learning experiences as one of the 5 required pre-EX activities is to give those students an opportunity for those work-based learning experiences early and within their career pathway. So when you do what Christine was talking about, stacking and layering skills and making it purposeful, that's really, really important.
I'd like to answer Mary's question here about work or research with incarcerated youth with disabilities, going from behind bars to opportunities and their transitions needs. We had the Youth Technical Assistance Center, the WITAC, the past 5 years, which also focused on what they call disadvantaged youth or disenfranchised youth. And some of the research and materials that they have helped us look at informing how we work with students who are involved in juvenile justice and in foster care, also students with mental illness. So what we have put in our new grant, that we are now under with the Interagency, we are going to have a focus on looking at making those better connections and working with students who are in the juvenile justice system. Like I said, also with foster care and students with mental health needs. So we are focused on that now. You're going to see more of that in this next grant cycle with the work that we put out.
Absolutely, Christine. And real quick, Rick, I don't want you to think that we skipped over you asked, please repeat the 5 components of community work experience. They actually weren't components. They will be in the slide deck for you all. It's, I think maybe the second slide that we have. These were 5 things that we really learned from working with states around work-based learning experiences. So that will be in your PowerPoint material. So I wanted you to know that that is there. And Tara, if you guys have any other questions that come up, anything that we can share with you, since we're running really, really tight on time, I know we need to get going, but if there's anything else that we can share with you all, we would be happy to do that.
Well, a big thank you, Brenda and Christine, for this. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. I see that there are a couple of questions that maybe we didn't get to. So what we'll do is we'll take those questions and we'll send them to you, and then we'll share that with everyone afterwards, just so we can, again, get your expertise.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Well, good luck and have a great